Right, I'm here with Jonathan Sothcott, producer of films like Age of Kill and Vendetta, and we're going to talk about the brand new film studios we're in, and a few about your films, and obviously yourself as a player in the big Hollywood game here in London. So let's start with Age of Kill. So obviously it's your last release, a film I really enjoyed actually. So congrats on that. That's all right, no problem. I'll tell how it is. So tell me how that came about, that project. So.
Well, it's a funny one because we had two different ideas bubbling away. One of them was a movie about kind of someone going undercover in a sort of National Front type organisation, and sort of ID with the National Front. And the other one was a sort of spy movie. And neither of them was quite working. So we kind of stuck them together and came up with Age of Kill. And a nice writer, Simon Cluett, very good, written a couple of other movies for me. He really kind of cracked it, I think, and we tried to make something different. You know, we tried to make a British action movie, which is an unusual thing.
You've actually taken my next question there. It was very, very different, certainly from a lot of the output from not just yourself, but other companies in this country. Obviously, there's a lot of gangster films, football hooliganism films, and that sort of thing. Was that what, obviously you said that was what attracted you to it. Was that something that Martin was on board from the start?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Martin Kemp has been a really good friend of mine for 10 years, and he's directed movies for me, he's done little cameos in movies for me, but he's never had a lead in one. And we thought it was about time to sort of get him back out there. And he was the right person for it. He looks great, you know, he's in great shape, he's kind of right for that milieu of film, and I think it worked out really well.
Obviously, I'm not going to ask you what the budget of the film was, but one thing I do know about all of your films is they look really expensive. And that's a lot down to sort of the cinematography. So just wondering, with both of the films that are behind us, actually, with Vendetta and Age of Kill, they both look amazing. So how about the process? Talk to me about the process you go through to find the person that can give you that look in the film.
Well, I think it's a collaborative thing between the director and the director of photography. I mean, both these movies have different directors of photography. I think Vendetta is a more visually driven film by the director. You know, Steve had a very clear vision of what he wanted it to look like. He wanted it to look like, you know, an American movie. That was always the idea with Vendetta, was not to just make another British movie. It was to make a movie that happened to be set in London. And we tried not to have too much kind of Cockney cliche in it and do something different with Danny, which I think worked. And the same with Age of Kill. You know, Age of Kill works more than a lot of my other films do internationally. You know, the Germans like it because it's not, you know, people in this part of London talking in Cockney rhyming slang, because that stuff just doesn't travel.
And talking about London, I mean, obviously we're in the film studios and we'll come on to that in a bit. What's it like to shoot in this city? A lot of your films are based here. Are people cooperative? Is it easy to get things off the ground here?
Yeah, I think people are used to seeing, you know, filming in London, so they're pretty good with it. When you take a famous actor into a small town, it's a bigger deal because people don't expect to see them there. And that's what always kind of shocks people. So if you're in Surrey or Sussex or Kent or something like that, and a Martin Kemp or a Danny Dyer suddenly walks down the high street, people go, oh my God, I can't believe that's happening. Whereas in London, they're kind of used to it by now. You know, reality TV has made so many people famous. There are a lot more celebrities than there used to be. So it's not that big shock.
And what about permissions and that sort of thing, and getting permission to shoot in certain areas, that sort of, is that relatively straightforward here?
What permissions?
Okay.
No,
let's move on.
No, it is, no, and you know, Film London are very helpful, and everyone's
yeah.
very helpful, but sometimes it's good to go guerrilla as well, because you get a more kind of realistic, you know, vibe out of that. And you know, what I just said about having a famous actor in a movie, the flip side of having a not famous actor, when we made White Collar Hooligan, Nick Nevin was completely unknown, so it was very easy to take him into football grounds with the DOP holding a Canon 5D, and it just looked like two guys at the football taking pictures of each other.
I think you've answered my next question, because obviously in Age of Kill you go abroad, you obviously film a little bit in Spain, and some of your other films have filmed in different locations around the world. Is that how you approach that, guerrilla style, or is it you know, full on?
No, we have, I mean, on Age of Kill, our director of photography is actually Spanish and has a crew out there who also facilitated what we did with We Still Kill the Old Way. So that's why we like going to Spain, because we have a kind of a second team out there. And I just think it adds a bit of production value.
Definitely.
You know, it really helps because it's not just London. We did cheat it in Vendetta. We didn't go to New York at the end. That was a bit of stock of New York.
Fantastic.
It was actually shot around the corner of the American bit.
Did look good, actually. It fooled me. You've obviously got, let's come to you now more of as a person. You've got 30 credits to your name. Just kind of interested as to how you got in the game, really.
Well, I was a film journalist like you. That was how I started, because when I was a kid, there was no internet, there was no easy way into the movie business. I didn't know how to do it. And so I thought, I'll write, that's all I could kind of do. Yeah. And I met some amazing people who gave me a break. First of all was a guy called David Wicks, who used to produce and direct The Sweeney and The Professionals, and all those shows. Worked for him for a couple of years. He said to me, producing is what you should do. And I thought, yeah, that'll be easy, that'll be great. Then I met Martin Kemp, we became friends, we made a short film together that he directed, his brother starred in. And then we got a feature off, and once you've made one, it becomes much easier. And then once you've made one that's successful, it becomes pretty easy. I mean, it's never that easy, because making films isn't, but you know, I've been really lucky. That's the simple answer. It's more luck than talent, that's for sure.
And tell me about your process. So how do films come along? How do they get off the ground? So I should imagine everyone's different, but talk to me about the last couple of films, so Vendetta, Age of Kill, that kind of.
Most important, I mean, Vendetta was a bit of a wild card, because when I made that, I was going to leave the business. I had enough. Okay. I was making pretty crappy movies and just didn't want to do anything. And Danny was in a similar position. He'd been making some really awful films. Yeah. So we decided to kind of have one last hurrah, like two old lags going on one last job. And everyone said, no, don't do it. Dyer's toxic. It's terrible. You know, get someone else. And, you know, we made that film for no money. I mean, no money at all. And thankfully it worked out and it became a big success on DVD, and, you know, everyone got back in the game. But since then, what I've always tried to do is get a distributor on board first, so that I'm never in that position of having a film that I can't sell. Yep. Because that's a difficult position to be in. Yeah. So normally I go to the distributors and I say, what do you want? Do you want football hooligans? Do you want bank robbers? Do you want, you know, zombies? And they say, well, they want football, hooligan, bank robbing zombies, and that's how we make it. But, you know, that is kind of how it works. They'll tell me who they want in it and all that kind of thing. So we're kind of reverse engineering, mostly.
Okay, and you obviously get some really big names. So you've got the likes of Dexter Fletcher in Age of Kill, and obviously Danny Dyer, obviously in Vendetta, and in obviously some of your other films, you've got some of the older actors, like, you know, the likes of Ian Ogilvy and that sort of thing. How easy is it to get those on board in terms of, you know, coming to the project?
I think the thing is, people know that if they come and do one of my films, it's fun. You know, it's a fun experience. Everyone has a nice time. I mean, Dexter did me a massive favour. There was another actor playing his part in Age of Kill who was doing a TV series at the time. TV series called him in on the day he was supposed to film for us, and Dexter did it at 12 hours notice, which is why he wears his own clothes in the film. And I really owe him for that, because that was brilliant. But that's because he'd had a good experience. We have, you know, we're friends, and people come and do stuff like that, and it's like a little kind of family, really. So, you know, people know they're not going to get rich doing one of my movies, but it will be fun, and also it'll get a decent release. You know, people will actually see it, and I think there's something to be said for making commercial movies.
Absolutely. And as a producer, what's your process like? Are you on set every day, or are you sort of in the background, or?
No, it depends on the film. I mean, if I've done my job properly, there's no real need for me to be on set every day. Mm-hmm. You know, David Wicks always used to say to me, producers come down at lunch and wear a long coat, and then they go home. Mm-hmm. And there is a bit of that, but I like the environment of it, obviously. Yeah. And it's fun, and, you know, on something like we still steal the old way. Love hanging out with Ian Ogilvy. He's a great guy. He's not over here very often because he lives in LA. You know, Billy, my partner, if he's around, I'll be around. So it's fun, yeah. I mean, but I'm there, but I'm not really doing anything.
Cool. And obviously, I've obviously just spoken to Billy. We're in Peacock Film Studios, your new venture. Talk to us about the setup here and that sort of stuff. Sure.
So we made Vendetta mostly at the Peacock Gym. The Peacock Gym next door was my base. The whole production was based out of there. And I was in the gym with Billy meeting someone, and the owner of the gym said, we've got this amazing space, you should come and have a look at it. So we came and have a look at it, and I said, wow, this is a film studio, this is brilliant. So for the last couple of months, we've been renovating it and changing, and as you've seen, you know, building sets and all this kind of stuff. And we open in a couple of weeks in July, and it's really exciting. You know, I used to make a lot of movies at Wimbledon Studios, where they made the bill. Sadly, they went under last year, so I was looking for a space like this. But I was looking to rent one really sort of, you know, on and off. But this just seems like too good an opportunity not to have our own. So we've got offices upstairs and all that kind of stuff, and it's great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's massive as well, which is, you can't really see it from the outside, but it's huge, and I can see the opportunity. So let's talk about the upcoming slate briefly. So you've mentioned We Still Steal the Old Way. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
We Still, obviously, it's a sequel to We Still Kill the Old Way. The guys are back. They get themselves arrested and put into prison to try and break out Patrick Bergin, who's their old mate. Billy Murray, who's wandering around at the minute in here, is the villain who comes in to try and kill them. And it's a different movie. Tonally, it's a bit more Lock, Stock and Ocean's 11 than the first one, which is obviously a revenge movie. But I love it. It's really good, and the actors in it are just brilliant. And Sasha, the director, is always wonderful. He has his wonderful light touch, which I think really shines through in this one.
And obviously you've got Bonded by Blood 2, which, is that out before We Still?
Yeah, Bonded by Blood 2 is out on Boxing Day. And it's not another Range Rover Murders, it's kind of what happened next. It's another true story. It's based on a book by Bernard O'Mahony called Essex Boys, The New Generation. And it was nice to have a really kind of young new cast. You know, we had a lot of actors that I hadn't worked with before. There's not all the usual suspects in it, which is interesting. We've got Sam Strike, who played Danny Dyer's son in EastEnders, who's playing Leatherface now in the Texas Chainsaw reboot. Wow. We had Casey Batchelor, the model, who's fantastic in it. You know, she's really, really good. George Russo, Martin Delaney, really, really nice, fresh faces, which was good. You know, I didn't want to do another Essex Boys film, but it felt different enough to make it worthwhile.
Fantastic. And I've been doing some research, so I've got 3 titles in front of me. So I've got Renegades, which is on your website. So is that still going?
Well, the problem with Renegades is the idea of it was to do a kind of Wild Geese with Danny Dyer and Martin Kemp and Craig Fairbrass and all of them basically. But you know, Danny's in EastEnders now, and that's the problem. So it's on hold, that one.
He's doing all right, isn't he?
He's doing great. Of course he is. You know, and it's lovely that everyone's seeing what a wonderful actor he is.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big advocate of Danny Dyer. I've never actually interviewed him, but always been a fan, and I was a fan of Vendetta, so it's good to see him finally getting his deserves. And talking about Vendetta, obviously, actually both of these films, so sequels to both can probably take a sequel, I'd say.
Yeah, well, I think, you know, Vendetta 2 is something we want to do. I mean, people on Twitter all the time say to me, when's it going to happen, when's it going to happen? We haven't quite cracked the script yet, and Steve, the director, and I have always said, unless we can make it better than the first one, we don't want to do it. It'll be so easy to drop Danny into Coventry shooting muggers or whatever, but then it would just be another cheap sequel. So we came up with this concept, essentially, of the SAS being put on trial for what he did in the first film, and Vincent Regan being kidnapped and Danny having to come and rescue him. Which was nice. It was kind of like a Rambo 3 type vibe. Yeah. But we just haven't quite cracked it yet. So we're working on it, but who knows?
Good stuff. So what is next, I suppose, is the question.
Our next movie is a movie called 52 Pickup, which is basically the Hunger Games for hitmen. We start shooting that here in September. And then we're doing a vampire movie called Reign of Blood, which is written by Danny King, who wrote Wild Bill, and is going to be directed by Jason Fleming, the actor, which is really, really exciting. And we're looking to make our first tentative step into television as well.
Okay. Can you tell me what that is?
Not really, but I'm very excited about the writer. Billy and I did the deal with the writer last night, so we've got a really, really cool writer who's written some brilliant stuff writing it. But I don't like announcing things until it's all kind of signed, sealed and delivered. But it'll be cool, and it's in my kind of genre, so.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for taking the time, and good luck with everything. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Paul.